everybody, welcome. My name is Matt and I'm here with Andrew. Today it's April Fool's Day, so grab your popcorn and Reese's Pieces and let's break it down on the Post Credit Podcast. Marathon. Was it good watching those two before this
It
one?
was. I mean, Man of Steel is just awesome anyways, no matter what. But
Every time I watch it, I like it more and more.
I just, it was good. It was good. But I also did watch Endgame and Infinity War too, because
Oh, snap.
I was just on that kind of mood.
Well, I started over. I started watching the MCU stuff, but I'm doing it in order now. So I watched Captain America: The First Avenger first, and now I'm on Iron Man because there's no such thing as Captain Marvel. That movie doesn't exist.
Well, he came back. You know, Robert Downey Jr. actually came out and said that because he's in this new Black Widow movie coming out.
Okay, it takes place in the night. Oh no, it takes place when she left after Civil War and started right before she started palling around with Cap before Infinity War.
Yeah, and it was kind of a big surprise because a lot of people didn't, they weren't expecting Robert Downey in it, but
makes sense.
He was in it, and then he said that he would do it only if Gwyneth Paltrow was cast as well, and they would have to give him an ungodly amount of money. Like what he said was you're kind of wondering if he just said that such large amount of money for the simple reason.
So he is in it?
Oh, he is in Black Widow.
So they must have given him. Oh, you're talking about if he came back and did his own movie,
or to do something else, like another Avengers type.
I mean, he's got to be done with it. I feel like he's gonna be one of these people that go do a couple big things, but he's never gonna have the stardom that he had here in the MCU. But I can see him being kind of sick of it. You can play that character only so long. He played the beginning, he played the end, everything in the middle. There's really not much more to play on that character.
And for the most part, most people know Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, so he'll always carry that with him no matter what.
Yep. So, how did you like Punch Drunk Love?
Well, I started watching it, and Adam Sandler kept on telling me to turn it off. Like, he just said it over and over again. He was like, turn this movie off.
Are you sure that wasn't your wife?
No.
It might have been your wife saying that.
I don't know. It kind of sounded like Adam Sandler, unless my wife sounds like Adam Sandler, which I hope is not the case.
Yeah, that would be quite the interesting thing.
I wouldn't use interesting.
I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's something that we can talk about right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't match the others.
Well, Adam told me no.
Well, it is April 1st right now. You want to do something else?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do something else.
Yeah, let's do something else.
Let me run with you tonight. I'll take you on a moonlight ride.
Alrighty, so today we're going to be talking about Mr. Deeds.
Yes.
Yeah, this movie came out in 2002. April Fool's, by the way.
Yeah.
We're not doing Punch Drunk Love. We're going to save that. It's a very good movie. We're gonna do that some other time. But I think we were watching this. We felt like, well, you had a problem making through it. I think. Or at least maybe your wife did, because she watches all these with you.
Yeah. It was just. It's hard to see because Adam Sandler is one of my favorite actors.
We're in a certain frame of mind though right now, right?
Yeah.
We're in the Happy Gilmore, Wedding Singer, Big Daddy. We're in the Happy Madison, goofy type of comedies that we're talking about. So, yeah, we felt like this. We do want to, because there is a lot to talk about with Punch Drunk Love. We're not the type
Shout out to my wife, by the way, because she's the one that kind of nudged us into this.
This was always my backup, though, because I did think about that.
You couldn't let her have that one.
No, here's the thing. I thought if this was way too far off, then we'll do it. But I was willing to do it because I was like, okay, I can talk about this. But talking to you the other night and your wife was like, can you please do Mr. Deeds or something like that? And I was in my head, I was like, well, that's what I had as a backup.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, well, let me think about it. And then, I think on the way home, I was like, let's just do Mr. Deeds. So, yeah, it's, we will do Punch Drunk Love, just not right now. We're going to continue with doing the Happy Madison style movies that we've been doing because that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So this movie came out in 2002. It was directed by Stephen Brill. We'll get back to him. He's directed a few Adam Sandler movies. But this was written by Clarence Buddington Kellen, who did a short story called Opera Hot. And then it got turned into a film written by Robert Riskin, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town.
Yeah.
And that stars Gary Cooper. It was directed by, oh my God.
I can tell you right now.
I had it. It's the same guy who did It's a Wonderful Life. I think Frank Capra.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was
It's got Gene Arthur in it as well. So
yeah, it had Gary Cooper, and it was directed by Frank Capra and all that. And then this screenplay was adapted to Adam Sandler by, you guessed it, Tim Herlihy. As we've seen in the last 3 movies that we've done, including this one, you'll see him basically be writing on all of Adam Sandler's movies. This movie stars Adam Sandler as Longfellow Deeds, easy with the Longfellow stuff. Winona Ryder as Babe Bennett, John Turturro as Emilio Lopez. It also stars, here we go, Alan Covert, Peter Gallagher, Jared Harris, Eric Avari, Peter Dante, Steve Buscemi, Blake Clark, John McEnroe in a cameo as himself, Tom McNulty, Buddy Bolton, Scott Thompson Baker, and many, many, many others. This has a lot of those, I've seen that guy type of.
Well, that's one of the biggest things I took away from this film, right? It's got so many underrated actors in it, meaning like all these side characters. I mean, John Turturro. I mean, obviously Alan Culver. I mean, Winona Ryder, and then Peter Gallagher, Jared Harris, and then Eric Avari, and. I mean, Cochata Farrell.
I like Alan Covert in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like him in every single one of them. I mean, he plays
soap in his butt.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, I will if you, provided you have the right information and you stop lathering your ass.
But I mean,
or you soaping your ass.
Just every actor in this, it seems like, were just so underrated. I mean, they all had like just classical scenes in this film, throughout this film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like, like with Jan getting in basically a all out bar brawl with Babe, at the pizza place at Mr. Deeds Pizza.
Awesome.
But I mean, just classic scenes and having, John Turturro was just amazing in this movie. He's always one of these people that just make you laugh no matter what he does. I mean, he does like even Transformers, when he was in Transformers, right?
Yeah.
He was just hilarious in that movie too. You know what I mean? He was definitely one of the main comedy reliefs in those films. But in everything he does, I just think he's an awesome actor.
Yeah. He's been in a lot of stuff. I think he's like more recently known as for Transformers.
Yeah.
Different things like that. But yeah, he's an amazing actor. This also has like Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
I don't think we've done a movie with her yet, have we?
No.
I didn't really want to introduce Winona Ryder on Mr. Deeds.
Yeah.
She has so many other great movies. But we'll eventually get to more of her stuff.
Well, she felt like she was not the right person to be cast in this film. She's actually said that she doesn't feel like she was the right person to be cast for the film, and I'm going to tell you why I think that's wrong. You look at a lot of the actresses in his movies are like the Drew Barrymores, and some of these actresses in these movies, they're very what's the word I'm looking for? Innocent, very, very cutesy kind of.
I'm wondering if you'll get the phrase that Cameron Crowe or people like to use for Cameron Crowe movies.
What's that?
Manic Pixie Girl. Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Yeah, in that way. You know what I mean? Not like the drop dead bombshell that wears the high heels,
right,
short
the goofy
skirts.
Manic Pixie Dream Girl that's like cutesy, but she's out of her mind and unfocused and everything, but beautiful.
And I feel like that portrayed you know, like Winona Ryder has a very, very large, you know, palette when it comes to different films she does. You know, I mean, she can play almost every type of, you know, dramatic, real action, you know, comedy kind of stuff like that. She's just a chameleon when it comes to it. But, you know, in this, she just fits that mold. You know what I mean? And like in this film, I felt like she fit that mold. Like Drew Barrymore could easily have played this role as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it could be interchangeable with those two.
Would have had better chemistry too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I remember Adam Sandler and Winona Ryder having really good chemistry. When I watched it this time, I could see that it was not as much.
Yeah,
I think it seemed more apparent that she was more smitten with him than I think he was with her.
Yeah. Well, I think he was just kind of playing the small town country bumpkin type role, and he does that a lot. You know, where he's just he's not from the big city necessarily. You know, and he's, you know, like this one, he's from New England. You know, and you know, a lot of times he's from, you know, I think he's from New Hampshire, but I mean, you know, he's very involved with when it comes to New York and stuff like that. But he just plays that kind of, you know, country bumpkin type role very well, and that's how I kind of reacted with Winona Ryder. And you know, it's just, again, the leading ladies in his films have to play the role of just basically putting up with his nonsense, you know, regularly, and I think Winona Ryder did that in this film to a point. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you go out with John McEnroe and you decide to throw eggs at a car or get really hammered drunk and do a bunch of stupid stuff and get filmed while doing it, you know, most girlfriends or potential dates, you know, or potential girlfriends would probably run at something like that. Granted, she had an underlying plan ahead of time, but, you know, in the long run, you know, that's the same thing with like Wedding Singer, with the way he was and the way he acted and his character was in Wedding Singer. Drew Barrymore just kind of put up with his nonsense, you know.
Conchata Ferrell, she was in this movie obviously as, was her name Jan, that was it. Another one of these actors that we've lost.
2.5 Men, right?
Yeah, she was on 2.5 Men. She passed away in this past October 12th, 2020. Complications from cardiac arrest, but she was 77.
Yeah.
She looked amazing for her age.
Yeah.
Do you remember what her and Winona Ryder did before this? Because they were both in a movie together before this.
No.
Before they had their epic fight scene in this movie. She was in Edward Scissorhands as well.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, she was one of the looky-loo housewives that had nothing better to do but gossip and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they were in that movie together. But Alan Covert is definitely at his most skeevy, creepy in this movie. But also maybe the most hilarious that he's been in Adam Sandler movies. He was really good in Grandma's Boy, but as far as like extras and stuff, I mean, Wedding Singer's up there with him being the limo.
Well, even
driver,
Anger Management. That role he played in Anger Management.
What his role was. In
he was the best friend of the girl and they were like, he thought they were more. She thought they were just friends, and when he thought that he wanted more, kind of thing. Remember, he had
I think I remember
large organ or something.
Yeah, like he always plays either like a rival to Adam Sandler or like his best friend.
Yeah.
Type of character in there.
When in reality, you know, he's probably his literal best friend
or something.
Something.
Peter Dante, this dude can do anything. Okay. So, you know, he played a suave lawyer and, you know, one half of a gay power couple in Big Daddy, right? He played just kind of like this long-haired bro dude in The Wedding Singer, a real bit part. You know, he in Grandma's Boy, he plays like this stoner and everything. Little Nicky, same thing.
I think he's kind of niched into something, really.
But I mean, and then in this movie, you know, he plays just like this goofy hick. You know, if New Hampshire could have a hick, he would be the hick in the thing. When he remember, because he's like, I thought you were sick today. He goes, you guys tricked me. It's just the way he talked, and he's just like always just so like, what did he say? It's like, oh, is Deeds his first name Longfellow? You know, just like really, he's always just like so like clueless about what he's doing.
Yeah.
I just think he's comedy gold in all of Adam Sandler movies. Like they pick him to do the perfect parts, and between the way his voice sounds and the way he just looks out of it most of the time.
Yeah.
I'd love to see like an interview with this guy, just talking normally, just to you know, to see what the normal Peter Dante sounds like.
Yeah.
He's just such an abstract, crazy character.
Well, it's funny because his name almost sounds like how he acts in a lot of films. You know, like Peter Dante. You know what I mean?
Saying
It's like
Dante because it sounds like I don't know, like a skateboarder or surfer
something.
Or like that.
You know, just the way that, you know, his name is actually like Peter Dante, and you're like, okay, this guy is automatically a trip, you know, right off the bat.
Yeah. Anyways, this movie was based off of a movie, like we said, a Frank Capra movie called Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Gary Cooper plays Longfellow Deeds in that movie, and he's a poet that, like in this movie, writes Hallmark cards and different things like that. He's always been a cheesy type of poet character, but he's always been very genuine, very carefree, not concerned about the trappings of life. And
He's literally a Hallmark card. He writes Hallmark cards. That's
actually a good analogy. That he is a Hallmark card because you know when people are vulgar or different things like that, you know, he's very against it, or he doesn't get dark sarcasm or different things.
Teaches
like that.
Lessons to people he doesn't even know.
He's very literal. It seems like he doesn't get jokes. And I'm talking as well. I'm talking about Adam Sandler's version as well. But you know, that's just his character. In that movie, instead of $40 billion, he receives $20 million. Yeah. But in I think that's 36. It was a lot of money. Smack dab in the middle of the Great Depression as well. And in that movie, he just wanted to make sure that, you know, that the company didn't get sold off because people needed jobs at that time. Yeah. You know, in that movie, he advocates very strongly for private charity. So, you know, it shows what others want to do with your money versus what you would want to do, because they want to break it up and use the money to do this, and that, or use the company to do this, and that. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted the money to be used in a good way for the good of the society and the good of the people. And probably the good of the people more over the good of the society and how it's run or whatever.
And as we see in this film, he really doesn't care about money. He just cares about being kind to people and being nice to people. And you know, it's just... He's just a good person. Like I said, he's a Hallmark card, you know, and the way he does things and the way his thought process is, I mean, money is not really a big deal to him. It's kind of one of those things where, you know, he needs just minor things in life, you know, just normal things in life, you know, be able to eat, sleep, you know, go to the bathroom in peace, you know what I mean? But his thing is he doesn't care about money. He doesn't care about, frivolous things, you know. He just cares about people.
Yeah. And this is very anti it's very, like I said, very pro private charity. Yeah. Anti being taxed for things that you don't want it to be used for, or things being sold the way you don't want it to be used. Yeah. You know, and he has that big speech at the end, you know, asking everybody, are you at where you wanted to be in life? Yeah. You know, it's a simple question. Now, we all get dragged down by the trappings of life, and you know, not many people get to where they always dreamed they wanted to get to when they were younger, and they accept that when they get older. Like, look, I was a kid, and you know, just because you have these dreams as a child doesn't mean that they make sense to you as an adult, because you know, you may have a dream to be an actor. That doesn't mean that everybody has a dream to be an actor should be an actor, you know? Yeah.
Well, unless you're Michael Jordan. I mean, his dreams came pretty successful.
He can do whatever he wants. There. Yeah. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. When you have that talent, you have that drive, you know, it should just be motivated or whatever. But anyways, the other movie was much more, what do I want to say? Much more cheesy kind of. It's this movie that and he seems a lot more serious in it. Like he really starts to analyze these things, whereas Adam Sandler's version of Mr. Deeds, he's still kind of just going through it with like, I don't care, you know. The only thing he really cares about is Babe.
Well, and my wife made a great point on that when we were starting to watch this movie. She said, you know,
your wife has become a ghost co-host.
Yes, correct.
A ghost, a co-ghost, host ghost, coast go,
West Coast
co-ghost, something like that.
Yeah. So, no, but she made a good point when they came to his town to basically tell him that he won that he's worth $40 billion now, right?
Yeah, he goes, wait a minute, you're not a cop.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, it didn't faze him. You know, she made a pretty good point. She was like, "Did you see his reaction when they told him?"
And the same thing with the Gary Cooper version. Yeah. He really had just no reaction to it because money it's not a huge thing.
Right.
And in small towns, sometimes it's not a huge thing. It kind of is a huge thing in small towns because, you know, they got bad economies. They got to worry about people getting jobs and stuff like that. But this seemed like a pretty successful small town.
Oh, yeah. I mean, beautiful scenery there.
And it's New Hampshire, which is where Adam Sandler's from.
Right.
I don't know if they filmed it there. Do you know if they filmed it there?
I don't know but his reaction to being told, you know, that he is worth $40 billion was like, you know, it was like nothing to him. I mean, you know, you had Eric Avari and then Peter Gallagher standing there in his own, you know, place of business that seemed very successful as it is, you know, and telling him this, and he was just like, okay, you know, or, you know, his reaction was like, okay,
yeah,
that's fine, whatever.
By the way,
no big world changer.
Mandrake Falls was depicted by New Milford, Connecticut.
Okay,
so same area, probably has a lot of the same geography.
Yeah, we're gonna get hateful comments on that one.
Looks and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, it's based in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Not Iowa. Like we're gonna get to that, but because this is probably my favorite part of the movie. But so the movie starts out with this guy who you can obviously tell is an enigmatic guy. You find out he's a rich guy, Preston Blake. He climbs Everest. Obviously, everybody else is telling, don't go. You know, the snowstorms are too bad, and you know it's played out like a cheesy old school movie too.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it has all like the newspapers swooshing across the screen. Preston Blake did it, blah, blah, blah. You know, and you know, the music that it's playing is all hopeful and stuff. So it's kind of played like in older movies, like it's trying to recreate the Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. I have to make sure I say that right because I keep wanting to say Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yeah.
The Jimmy Stewart movie, but so they get there. They let him know. Preston Blake dies at the summit of Everest.
Yeah,
and he passes away. But he has no family, no heirs to speak of or whatever, and he has an empire that's worth about $40 billion. And the closest that they can find for a relative is this guy named Longfellow Deeds that lives in New Hampshire. So they go there. They find out that he owns a pizza shop, but he also delivers the pizza himself. He's a really down-to-earth person. He goes and helps an elderly man across the street by throwing him over his shoulder and walking him across.
So ironic.
But I looked at that. I was
ironic, but
I wonder if that maybe like caused him back problems and stuff because he had to like bend over his back. I'm like, because I saw how frail he was walking. I was like, oh, he's gonna break that dude's back. But anyways, and of course we have the amazing Peter Gallagher in there, and all his reactions to. California, here we come. So obviously, Peter Gallagher played Sandy Cohen, Mr. Cohen, in The OC, one of our shows that we love watching.
Yep.
Eliminate some of season 3 and some of season
Misha
4.
Barton.
Yeah.
Her entire character.
Gosh, she was the worst part of that show.
She was.
Anyways, I think they could have found some. Well, let's get beyond that.
I digress.
So Peter Gallagher, who because I was so into that show, I've always seen him as like a nice
good guy. Yeah.
So it's really hard because a lot of the movies he does, he's not a good guy.
He's scummy.
He's a really scummy guy, and I think it's because he has such pronounced features with his eyebrows.
Those eyebrows
huge
are
eyebrows and everything.
I wonder if they have to pay him double, like one for his eyebrows and then the other one for him as an actor.
I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know if they have prosthetics or whatever that
they have to
they're like
contact the FDA.
Little toupees. He's like, how bushy do I want to be today?
Or I meant to say the FAA. They have to contact the FAA when he flies.
The FAA when he flies,
and maybe the FDA too. Who knows?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. You might have an eyebrow strike, something like that. But him and Eric Avari. Now, Eric Avari is in a movie that we're not going to mention, but it's going to be our penultimate episode coming up. We're going to be doing two movies in one episode, the first and the sequel.
Can you guess what it'll be?
He's in the first of these movies before he valiantly gives his life so the others may survive. But him
you might as well just say
no, I don't want to. Him as Cecil in this movie is awesome because he's in with the bad guys, but he's kind of just an affable guy. It seems like he doesn't belong in this business world, but he's kind of going through it like he's studying it. Like he's not affected by any of it or doesn't have a role, but he's almost like an intern for his whole life, because he doesn't do anything.
But he understands, like you could tell, like he's very kind of posh trying to act, but in all reality, he's kind of a down to earth person. Where I mean, just listen to him sing the song on the plane. You know what I mean?
This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door. And I'm floating in a most peculiar way. And the stars look very different today.
Oh, here am I sitting in a tin can.
That's right, Anderson.
Far above the world.
Planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do.
Like he knew the words. He knew the full bravado of that song, and he I mean, you could tell. Like I said, he's a certain way around certain people, but in all reality, he's probably like a down to earth. And that beard, that facial hair, I have always strived to be that.
He's amazing. His barber's on point with that.
Oh man,
has him cleaned up real nice and everything. But he just seems like he's one of these characters where the movie just happens to him. He's just kind of like, he doesn't really affect the plot.
Yeah.
He doesn't annoy you or anything like that. He's kind of a funny, good presence there because you get a sense, okay, he's not too bad of a guy. Like he's definitely, Peter Gallagher, his character, you could definitely tell, he's a
scummy,
scumbag or whatever. But this guy, he's just kind of, it almost seems like, he doesn't have a role. He's just kind of his little lackey, just kind of following him around like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is interesting. Like, hey, man, I was dreaming of Frosties last night. He's like, I tried to make it at home. It wasn't the same thing.
I mean, that timing was just classic. I mean, the way that line was, the delivery was just perfect. His facial, features when he was saying it was just like, I mean, it was so natural the way he said that.
He goes, pleased to meet you, Cecil, and he goes, oh, and you too, kitty, or should I say meow?
Yeah, I mean, just again the delivery, and that's why I said with this movie is just so many underrated actors in this movie that it doesn't feel like an Adam Sandler movie. It feels more like the Sandler universe movie. You know what I mean? Where it's not like. Yeah, I mean, it is surrounding around Adam Sandler's character and Babe and Winona's Babe character, but it really, we know it's going around that, but in a way it was like almost just, one of those ensemble type movies where it's like there's not really a defined main character.
Yeah, like Mr. Deeds, obviously Adam Sandler is, but you get just as much screen time for, say, Peter Gallagher's character or Babe. She's kind of like a starring role too.
Yeah.
Even Alan Covert gets a lot of time and everything. But this guy, Eric Avari, who plays Cecil, I'm trying to think. He did not do one thing that affected the plot in this movie.
No.
He was just there to have a few jokes here and there. And sometimes that gets annoying to me. I'm like, what's the point of this person? But I don't know. It's almost it was almost I don't know. It was a really good thing in this movie. I enjoyed his character just because. His reactions, and you expected him to be like the guy at the end that finally gave the good guys a bit of information to help them.
or at least gave a vote to against the greater evil,
the one that's going to pitch in at the end and be part of the solution.
You feel like that's going to happen,
but he doesn't. He just sits there at the investor meeting. Oh, this is interesting. He's just like, things are still happening and everything, and he probably just quit and went and retired with Kitty in Mandrake Falls and everything. But I don't know. It's just one of those characters where you sit there, you're like, I don't know why this guy's here. And also, can we talk about Jared Harris? You remember Jared Harris, right, as the main newscaster? Yeah. This guy is an amazing actor.
He's a scene stealer, especially in this movie too. Like when he's in the scene, he plays that broadcaster, and I know that this is not the only time he's played this type of role where he's somewhere in news organization, like a news program on TV. It's like there's something else that he was in that he played this type of role, but when he's on screen, like it's hard to even focus on Winona Ryder or anybody else in the scene because he steals the scene, just like
his father.
Yeah.
His father, Richard Harris, who was the original Dumbledore, and he was also in Gladiator and a couple other things.
I did not know that they were related.
Yeah. Richard Harris, he played the first Dumbledore in the first two movies, and he was also played...
I see it now,
was it Maximus? Not Maximus. I can't remember. He was the main emperor there in... but anyways, he sorry, but yeah, that was his father, and so I mean, you have that legacy, right?
Yeah.
This dude, he's been on. Wasn't he in The Crown? Yeah, I think he played King George in The Crown. He was in what was he been in recently? Chernobyl.
Oh yes,
he did an amazing job. He was the main doctor that figured out what was going on in Chernobyl, and he was Robert Downey Jr.'s Moriarty in the Sherlock movies. So he's had, I think he was in Pompeii. He played Kerrigan in the Poltergeist. The Zelda character. Her name was Zelda something in the original Poltergeist.
Yeah.
But, he was in Man from U.N.C.L.E. He's
Lincoln. I mean, and he was in The Crown too. So,
and apparently he's going to be in the new Morbius movie. The Marvel character Morbius. Is it Marvel or DC?
No, it's Marvel.
Is it Marvel?
Yeah.
So he's going to be Morbius's mentor. But anyways, this actor, he steals it. Like it was weird for me because this is one of the first roles that I remember seeing him in. Because of how how young I was when this movie came out, I wasn't really trying to be a movie buff or anything. Mm-hmm. So it's just one of these movies like, okay, I know that guy. And then when I see him in things like Chernobyl or Sherlock or whatever, see him do these serious things, it was weird for me because my first experience with Jared Harris was him being this goofy guy and this goofy television host in Big Daddy.
Yeah.
And so it always
Mr.
just threw me
Deeds.
off because, Mr. Deeds, I got the New York mixed up.
No, I was thinking that earlier too. I was like, because you got to kind of keep track of Alan Culvert's characters.
But these are the only two movies in New York from Adam Sandler, aren't they?
No, Chuck and Larry too.
Okay. So, but I mean, he'll go to New York every once in a while. But like this is the second time he's gone to New York for his movies, and Rob Schneider played the same one he played in Big Daddy.
Yes.
He had a little cameo as the delivery guy again. So, I think that's another more evidence that the universe, Adam Sandler universe, is all linked.
Yeah.
We have this guy named Sonny Koufax somewhere in New York City. And he must be looking at the TV at this new guy named Longfellow Deeds saying, that guy looks a lot like me. Just stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's got to be something weird like that where, they say everybody has a doppelganger in the world. Uh-huh. Like Adam Sandler has lots of doppelgangers in this one universe, and they all are different people, but,
Yeah,
whatever.
and that's why, like, with Alan Culver, he does such an amazing job.
And Alan Culvert, just for those listeners, is the little permed up blonde guy that was soaping up his butt whenever in this movie. So.
And he plays a lot. Like he does such an amazing job in these films. but he also kind of plays a lot of the characters somewhat same. There's a lot of similarities between a lot of his characters.
Well, the way he talks. Is
and so I was getting this one mixed up with anger management too, and then something with Big Daddy as well. Like at first I was thinking, wait, no, that wasn't his character in this one, and so sometimes it gets confusing, but I think. Do
you think we'll ever talk about Grandma's Boy?
Oh, I want to. I love that movie.
That'd be a good conversation. That'd be another one of those things though, where we just have to cut in a bunch of clips from it because it's just so funny. Because we'll just be laughing, repeating the stuff most of the time.
Right, and so we get into the main chunk of the movie where he gets to New York. Again, Mr. Deeds goes to town. He's going to New York. He's getting separation from his small town, and you almost seem like you look at him and he really doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to go to the big city. He's fine where he's at. He's very complacent in where he's at in his life, and he just doesn't want to go. And it was like, even when they said, "Oh, it was your great uncle or whatever," and he doesn't even know who he is, and he's like, "Oh, I've got an uncle," and then and they're like, "Oh, he died."
He said my mom had an uncle. Or no, my mom's maiden name was Blake.
Yeah.
And they're like her uncle. I have an uncle?
Right. And then when they said he died, he was kind of all sad and everything else like that. So it was almost like, his last remaining family member. It was because his passing, and he had to take care of those affairs. That was really the only reason he went to New York. Like he just, I'm sure that they could have figured out the money situation and everything else like that, and he probably was thinking that.
I think he felt. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying he looked at it like he just was tying up ends.
Yeah, I think he looked at it as responsibility. Yeah. He didn't look at it as the money or the trip to New York. He seems like a very responsible guy. I got to take care of my mom's interests, my family's interests, I got to take care of the interests of the people in my town. That's why he's a fireman. He helps people. He gives people free stuff. He gives them pizza and will deliver himself and do all these things for his town because he loves his town. He has responsibilities. And I saw it as more of, okay, I have an uncle and I'm the heir, so I have to go and be responsible. This guy has assets. This guy has a company. I need to make sure that the company is going to be taken care of, that my uncle built. So he felt like a very very responsible type of guy.
Yeah.
He almost seems like he's like kind of the undeclared mayor of Mandrake Falls.
Oh, yeah.
Because like there's a parade for him. There's like everybody loves him in town. Everybody's talking about him. When he's gone, everybody's talking about him. Yeah. When he's gone, people are watching him on TV. Yeah. It's like everything revolves around him. He's kind of like the undeclared mayor or whatever. Yeah. But he goes there. I think out of a sense of responsibility, and then he starts talking about
I was going to say this too.
What? You go
well,
ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying.
I was just going to say, he starts talking about how his mom met his dad and how his, and then he started, thinking about, I think being in Mandrake Falls made him complacent and was just doing his thing. But now that he got away from there and all his responsibilities there, then he could kind of take a break and think about himself as he's on his way to New York. Oh, well, my dad met my mom by saving her, and it was a valiant situation. Yeah. I want to have a situation where I save somebody valiantly, and then that's when the guy overhears it and goes and tells Babe. But I think getting away from that town finally makes him realize, okay, I can think about myself. What do I want in life? And that's when he starts thinking about having a love interest. Yeah. That's all I was going to say.
Well, no, I was going to say that too, because with if you notice that, he was even telling her, he's like, well, maybe this will be my town, my new town. And when he said that, you could see in his face, like he was like, I really do not want this, but it's like a 4-to-1 ratio of guy to girl in my town. So I've got to, basically kind of suck it up and take my first option here, with Winona Ryder. And then, he's obviously fallen for her, but you could tell when he said that out loud that it was just like he doesn't feel like he really means that he would stay here, even for her in a way, because he missed his town, and he had a status in his own town. It might have not been like the richest guy in the world, but he was somebody that was looked up to in his small town. Where he gets to New York and he's looked up to for the wrong reasons.
Right. Right, yeah. So, and then it gives you that sense. It's one of the rare movies that looks at small towns in a good light.
Yeah.
You know, usually they're looked at as hicks, and you're not going anywhere. Come to the big town, make it big, make your dreams come true. Your dreams can only come true in the big cities and stuff. And it's like some people just have dreams of living small and enjoying a quiet life.
Yeah,
and I think that's where it's part of that. You know, so it shows it in a good light. It shows that there's these nice people, and it's just nothing but trash in the big city. You know, all that kind of stuff.
Well, because like especially with Babe, she's trying to act, from a small town, tries to tell her story about the small town. He literally finds everything in her story.
We have to get into that, but that's hilarious. So he gets to town. He signs, he's got to sign some papers. I don't know why they need him in town for that.
Well, that's what I was saying before.
Yeah, it seems like Peter Gallagher's character would rather actually just leave him in Mandrake Falls so that nobody knows about him, and he can do this
cause any damage.
Exactly. So I don't know why they say. Why they don't say, "Hey, your dude died. We'll have some legal guy come out with some papers for you to sign." Like, why would they feel the need to bring him back to New York?
It's like the question thing I was talking about previously. When my wife asked this ridiculous question of, "Well, why wouldn't they just do this?" And I have to tell her,
you wouldn't have a
movie. Yeah. So, but I mean, I get what with you're always trying to look at the behind it, all and everything. And, and it doesn't make a lot of sense with there, but could you see a side movie of this, right? Where he's just in the small town. I don't know how the story would go, but, I seriously think that they can make a movie of these people in this town, including him.
Yeah, you could have a
whole
part
separate
two,
movie.
Like okay, now what are Winona Ryder and Adam Sandler? I mean, you could do it nowadays. What are they doing? What are they up to now?
Yeah.
Have a new problem or something like that, or have John Turturro's character have a problem.
Yes,
or,
but that's what I'm saying. I mean, this is one of those rare Sandler movies that, because like you were saying before, and I know I said that twice in a row, but I know, like you were saying before, Adam Sandler tries to make all these movies in the same universe. I mean, I don't know if he said that he's tried to, but it pretty much that's how it is, right?
Well, I think there's a theory about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I like that. That could work."
Yeah, and like we were talking before in prior episodes, it's almost like a continuation of character for him.
Yeah.
In each film, where he grows up a little bit. You know what I mean? Where this one, you could literally make a part 2 with it, and it would fit the storyline. Like you were saying, make John Turturro's character have a problem, and Deeds has to fix it, or something that's involved in that town, because those characters in that town are it's just a phenomenal group of people. I mean, you got Crazy Eyes, you got Dante's character. I mean, it's just and
Crazy Eyes played by Steve Buscemi,
yes,
of course,
yes.
And I think we talked about him in a previous episode. He likes Oreos on his pizza, but it's also French fries.
Right.
It's the crinkle cut French fries and the Oreos on his. And he doesn't like Peter Gallagher's character. Maybe Steve Buscemi's character is a good judge of character, because he automatically is like,
he's like
the
Stanley of
he just pops in just to do a stupid thing.
Small little thing.
But did he seem kind of homeless in this? Because I know he was in jail. Well, he had his own cabin, I guess.
Yeah, but I think it was more like a hunting cabin. I don't know.
He seemed a lot like his homeless character in Big Daddy, but maybe I'm just putting those together because they're both in New York.
Same thing with Hubie Halloween. It kind of made me feel a lot like this town is. You know what I mean? Watching both these films, that town almost seems similar, very similar to each other. In a way.
Do you know anything about hockey?
A little bit.
Do you know anything about John McEnroe? Or no, it's not hockey. Tennis.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about tennis or John McEnroe?
Yes, I do know about John McEnroe. I mean, I
know he was like a bad boy. Yeah,
but he's the guy that would throw the racket into the crowds and just throw the racket or break the racket over his knee. I mean, he was the Adam Sandler of
the
tennis.
Happy Gilmore of tennis.
Yes. But he was very, very. He's exactly like his character. My wife didn't know who he was, and she's like, "Doesn't it feel like he's just reading off of a piece of paper or a teleprompter?" I said, he's not an actor. He's a famous tennis player. But
maybe Happy Gilmore was like the John McEnroe of golfing. Maybe he took some cues from John McEnroe's bad boy status in something, as peaceful, I guess, as tennis, or as gentlemanly as tennis, or whatever you want to say. Same thing with golf. Golf's a quiet game and everything. It's not a loud game. It's not a loud, huge spectator type sport or whatever.
Well, there's a lot of underlying
bad boy status.
Well, there's a lot of themes of sports in Adam Sandler movies, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, because after you said he was a basketball, or he played basketball, I found out since then that he's a huge basketball fan.
Yep. And that's the thing. But he's also a Jets fan, and so it was very hard in this film because he's supposed to be a Patriots fan. And
because in this phone he's like, I think the Pats might take the whatever, and they're like, you own the Jets, and he's like, oh, that sucks.
but he is a
hope we don't play the Pats.
Jets fan. Oh man, but I mean, he's kind of right, but it's huge Jets fan, and I mean Rangers when it comes to hockey and stuff. So he's a big sports, especially New York sports fan, and when he finds out he owns the Jets, and he finds out that his star quarterback comes into the room to demand more money, the brilliance of, I mean, it just seemed like Adam Sandler lived a lot of that. You know what I mean? With the whole scene with the guy
Watch
that
your mouth, buddy.
Yeah, and then but him knocking him out.
It's so funny. Like Adam Sandler's always like in all of his movies, he's like the toughest guy, except for against Bob Barker. Like Adam Sandler can beat up anybody.
Well,
like,
no, I think it's opposite though. Like, I mean, in The Wedding Singer, got beat up by the old man.
He was drunk.
Yeah,
I chalked that up to drunk because I mean, like he's laying out people in the like a football player, this 6'5" football player or whatever. He lays them out like it's nothing, and Punch Drunk Love. I don't know if you got to that part, but he's laying people out in that movie and stuff. So it's one of these things. I don't know. I just felt like he
Billy Madison. I mean, every single one of his films, he gets in some sort of fight.
Tough guy or whatever. But
one thing I wanted to bring up, and I should have brought it up at the beginning, but Sandler is the king of fart jokes. Okay, and I don't mean literal fart jokes. I just mean that type of humor. I mean it's really simplistic. I mean, and you notice a lot of this coming from Saturday Night Live crew. Anybody that was on Saturday Night Live.
Well, the simplistic jokes is Adam Sandler. I mean, to be able to make a gag work a few different times in a movie going woohoo when you come into a room or whatever, you're just making a joke about the echo.
Exactly.
That's something that kids think is funny.
Yeah.
Us as adults, we wouldn't even pick up on it.
No.
But my kid would be like, hey, look how it echoes. Woo! That's Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Now, that's not Mr. Deeds, because Mr. Deeds seems like a very mature, grown-up guy.
Yeah.
But you got those little bits of childish Adam Sandler coming through there thinking like, oh, what would be funny if we just talked about echoes and make everybody go like, poop, and, all this kind of stuff. Like,
and I know you don't want to bring this up right now, but the tennis scene, I keep flashing back to that. I mean, he messes Gallagher up. I mean,
no, we can talk about it. No, when he gets him right in the throat, he's like,
but again, it's like what you were talking about. He did it over and over again, and it just got funnier and funnier every time.
Because like every time he got hit, it worse, and he finally gets him in the neck, and he's like, oh, I got you in the neck there, huh? Oh, that sucks. But I got to ask you, if it hits you, is that my point or yours? Your point. All right, well, I guess I'm winning then, huh?
But I mean, to a guy, okay, Deez has never played tennis, obviously. We know this. Okay, just by watching
his swing is basically like a Happy Gilmore swing, just in tennis.
But he just, I mean, and the thing is, really Gallagher is the only real grown-up in this entire movie where he's like a full-on grown-up, does grown-up things. I mean, even when he has to hush him in the airplane, he's like, nope.
Yeah. He really is. You got to have really you also got to have like one parental supervision, one person that you can walk away and say, okay, well, at least there was one adult there.
Gallagher was that that character.
He was that adult.
But the fact that he just gets messed up, I mean, because it comes out of nowhere, like, pretty much he gets unscathed of the political violence that happens in Adam Sandler
and
movies.
Then you have people like Alan Covert who gets just
the brunt
apart with physical violence throughout most of the movie. When he's just getting beat down and she like looks around, she's like, just mouths, I'm sorry, and he just flips her off.
And then he's like do you think somebody like that could do this? I mean, he's just messed up.
He's like, I'm sorry, I got your bag back. It was by some guy who wears more cologne than any man should wear. And he's like, when Evan Culver gets up, he's like, "Oh, Old Spice, you failed me," and then he like lets the bottle go. He just leaves it in the street.
But that's what I'm saying is Sandler is the king of fart jokes, and I mean that not literally. I just mean that everything he comes is just he comes with just simplicity to his jokes that make him. I mean, it brings me back to like we were talking about, I think last episode with John Cleese and Monty Python crew.
Yeah,
that's Adam Sandler's crew. That's the upgraded version. All those actors,
maybe not as smart, more potty type, but British.
Yeah, is very
like,
potty.
They're like, well, and they're classically trained actors.
But that group of people is a lot like the Sandler universe, where it's just like they make stupid funny. They make stupid so funny that you don't even consider it stupid anymore.
Well, it's things like that, you wouldn't joke around anymore.
No.
But when you see it in a movie like this, your mind automatically reverts.
Oh, man.
Because, as adults, we're actively repressing
absolutely.
immature urges, immature thoughts, and different things like that.
We'd be dead at 21 years old if that was the case.
We all have those.
Case.
And we all have those thoughts. We all have those urges and everything. It's just that as we become adults, we get better at suppressing them, at controlling them, and all that. But I mean, there's still like this animalistic type of, just reactionary type of thing. Somebody farts or something like that. Well, it's hilarious.
Exactly. And British humor is very physical humor. Okay, you look at Mr. Bean, things like that.
Close to slapstick.
Yeah, but it's very physical humor, just like Adam Sandler.
You gonna change my socks for me? You don't gotta do that. Come on, stand up.
Thank you, sir.
Besides, you don't want to have to touch my right foot. I got wicked bad frostbite when I was in the Scouts. Check it out. Pretty messed up, huh?
The hideousness of that foot will haunt my dreams forever.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that before. But the weird thing is, I got no feeling left in it, so you could, jump on it and it wouldn't hurt me. Go ahead, jump on it.
I would really rather not, sir.
Oh, please jump on my foot. Yeah, I didn't feel that. What else you got? Hey, get that fireplace poker right there and just whack my foot.
Do I absolutely have to?
It's gonna be fun. Just grab it. All my friends do this when they're wasted. Come on. Go ahead, give it a whack. Nothing.
Really?
Isn't that sick? Didn't feel that. Isn't that awesome? Go ahead. Nothing. Yeah, I know you're starting to like it, aren't you? Chop that wood. Yeah, that's it. Ow! You're sick! You're sick! Why would you do that to me? I'm just kidding you, pal.
You want me going there?
I saw your face. You were like...
Adam Sandler's humor is very, very physical humor. But again, Chris Farley was the same exact way. You know what I mean? John Belushi was the same exact way. Even Bill Murray was a lot like in the beginning. In the beginning of Bill Murray's career, he was a lot more physical in the way he strutted and the way he did his comedy. But not as well as Adam Sandler has done it.
By the way, I have a theory about Chris Farley and Funny People, the movie Funny People. Mm-hmm. Remind me about that because I want to talk about that one.
All right.
But yeah, I agree. It's this type of humor that most of us say, well, that's childish. But the way he does it, I don't know. It somehow makes it okay.
Yeah.
It somehow makes it okay to laugh at it. It takes you back to. It makes it to where. When you pop on an Adam Sandler movie, it's like you're pulling away that part of you that usually suppresses okay, fart jokes aren't funny anymore, and I got to be more mature and different things like that.
It's that delivery of it,
and you just start laughing at stupid things and everything. So,
but that's why it goes back to the fact that we've said before, and it's why we do a lot of older movies. It goes back to where you really enjoyed a movie. It's very hard nowadays to find a movie that you just sit there and you're like, wow. I mean, there are out there.
Everything has to be so much more dire, so much more real, and people want more realistic movies. That felt incredibly real performance, and I'm like, well, okay, I see that, and sometimes the mood hits you right. You need that, but I mean, these are always movies and stuff and TV shows and plays. I mean, they're supposed to be fictional things. They're supposed to be things that you can separate from the real world and enjoy without taking too seriously or whatever.
Yeah.
Even if it's serious material that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I want to know that I'm watching a movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I'm seeing these horrible things like in a documentary or something like that. Even documentaries aren't as horrible sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just one of these things like nowadays we're getting a lot more of the gritty, realistic stuff and everything.
Well,
I'm like, look, I just want to be in a fantasy world and I want to be entertained.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Well, let me ask Dr. Matt here.
I want a movie with movie rules in it. You know what I mean? Where you have certain movie rules.
Yes. Okay, I get where
like
you're going
those.
with that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask Dr. Matt a question here. Would you prescribe Adam Sandler at least once a week? Just for that feel good, just to get your spirits up.
Yeah, him or things like him. I mean, I think people eventually get sick of watching Adam Sandler movies. They watch it that often.
I don't know. I watched The Office so many times.
But I mean, that's like you're going through a whole journey, and then you reach the end, and then you want to start over the journey again. You know, it's not like you're watching like the same episode over. And
Mind
over
you, that's probably the only show I could actually do that, and I've actually seen myself do that where I'll finish it. I mean, it takes me a while.
That's got to be the most replayed show in all of history, because I know so many people that do the same thing that we do and just go from season 1. Well, I usually start from season 2, episode 1.
Season 1's just so short. I mean, it's not even a full
6
season,
episodes
really.
or something, and they're all just mimicking The Office, the UK Office.
But do you ever
season 2 they took it up? But yeah, I mean, you need to have that. You need to have stupid movies you watch every once in a while where you can just. Even if it's not a comedy, where you can just switch your brain off, whether you laugh if it's a comedy or you can get emotion, allow yourself to experience those cheesy. Don't roll your eyes at the cheesy moments. Experience them. Experience them how. Go back to a time when that was sweet and everything. You know, I think you need to do that every once in a while because it taps into that childhood part of us, where, especially with Adam Sandler movies, where you have a lot of stupid humor, but it's fun. Obviously. Roger Ebert disagrees. He ripped on this movie again, ripped on Adam Sandler again. Though I did notice this was one of the first reviews that they stopped saying that he wasn't going to be a leading man.
I mean, so after a certain point, you have to kind of just pull up your britches and be like, okay, I was wrong here.
They had to accept it. Now they may have still thought that they were right because it's not the leading man that they wanted to have in their type of movie. Yeah. And so it's like, well, he is a leading man whether you like it or not. He's been very successful whether you like it or not.
It's probably a lot worldly known more than any of those two.
Yeah. And it was another one of these reviews where it just seemed like he was rolling his eyes at the absurdity of it. It's like Adam Sandler's never proclaimed to be anything above being absurd and ridiculous.
Yeah. How do they at this point in his career and in theirs, how do you not just sit there and say, okay, I was wrong. It's not my type of movie. It's not something that I would enjoy. It's not something that I would give, an award to.
You have to at least regulate your reviews.
Yeah,
right?
but say, hey, I was wrong because he has proven otherwise.
And he's a box office draw.
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. You have to regulate your reviews. You have to say, you have to bring it down. Okay. So you're looking at something like Uncut Gems versus Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Okay. Uncut Gems is going to be a serious piece. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now it should be at this level, which it was.
Yeah.
You're watching Happy Gilmore. Okay, you have to bring your expectations down.
Yeah, because but not in a bad way. Not like it's a worse movie.
We know it's an Adam Sandler movie. Yeah. We know it's not supposed to be any kind of revolutionary comedy or whatever. It's that slapsticky, ridiculous comedy. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. You can review it and say, hey, it's not my cup of tea, but if you like Adam Sandler movies, you're going to like this or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess he wants to pick apart the absurdity of an Adam Sandler movie called Mr. Deeds. And I'm sorry, but when you have
Adam Sandler picks apart himself every
when you have somebody
movie.
named Crazy Eyes in the movie and you got a Blackfoot going through the lake and a helicopter landing in a Wendy's parking lot. It's just not. You're not supposed to take that seriously. You're not supposed to pick that apart.
I wonder if Wendy's got into a little bit of advertisement for this film.
Dude, have you I got to send you this video, but it shows how in all Adam Sandler movies, it's nothing but product placement.
Yeah.
I imagine that most of his movies have sponsors like that. But I mean, you see Subway, you see beers, you see Hooters, you see Wendy's. They're in every single movie. There's all kinds of product placement, and maybe we should have done that. Maybe we should have done like a count list of counting how many product placement we saw.
We got one more Adam Sandler movie we can work on.
Yeah, maybe we can do that. But maybe we'll just go back. I'll see if I can go back through them.
Do you think they pay him or he pays them?
I don't know.
That's kind of a good question if you think about it. It's like, who do you think gets paid here?
I imagine probably they would want to pay him, and he would probably take that way. He didn't have to put as much money into the movie.
True, but at the same time,
he's throw in a Subway sandwich or something.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, but he gets to town and he does all his spiel, and it gets to the point where he wants to know more about Babe.
Yeah.
And she tells him, of course, her real name is Babe Bennett, but she says her name.
Dawson.
Yeah, Pam Dawson.
Pam Dawson.
So, and she says she's from the glorious Iowa town of Winchestertonfieldville, Iowa.
You excited about this trip?
I'm so excited. Where are you taking me?
I told you, that's a surprise.
Winchestertonfieldville, Iowa. You gotta be shitting me.
Well, I never heard you curse before.
I'm that excited.
So you obviously see she's making that up on the spot. You
on
know,
the
you
fly
have something
there.
like Winchesterton or Winchesterfield or Winchesterville.
Yeah.
And instead of the field, Ville, tin, she just added them all together. Winchestertonfieldville, Iowa. And so he goes, "Oh, really?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah." She goes, "I had this house with blue shutters and a red door and a tire swing in the front."
Oh my God, there it is. Blue shutters, red door, tire swing. That's your house, isn't it?
Wouldn't you know it?
And I fell out of Boo Radley's apple tree.
Well, that's from To Kill a Mockingbird.
It is from To Kill a Mockingbird, but I mean, that was funny. And, you know, obviously he's never read the book because when they get into the thing, he goes, "Somebody fell out of Boo Radley's apple tree."
I just don't really. And even one other name too, the guy's name, Finch. Atticus Finch. Or Addie Finch. That's what she said, right? It was Addie Finch.
Probably. Yeah, something like that. But his name was Atticus Finch in the story.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you would think as a writer, like she is, that she could have had a way better backstory instead of just coming up on and even coming up on the fly for a writer.
But apparently she's more just of a journalist than a writer. Like she's good at investigating because because you never saw her.
But then again, that still goes against her.
But remember, all of what she was doing, she never got on air. That all went to that one guy who was who then rewrote it and all that kind of stuff. So I think she was more investigating because then at the end she found out who the money really was supposed to go to.
Because she is the highest paid person in that office, you know,
under Jared Harris's character. Yeah.
But I mean, that's stated. But I mean, again, you know, you would think even being just an investigative journalist, you would think that she'd have a way better backstory for this whole thing. But it was just kind of like on the fly, and they wanted to try to get in there before anybody else. And
then they land, and he has her open her eyes, and it's a sign that says Winchestertonfieldville, Iowa. Like, obviously, this is the point where Roger Ebert should have put away his pen and paper.
Yeah.
And just like, okay, this is obviously supposed to be a ridiculous movie because what are the chances that there would be a town? Obviously, just to let you know if you don't know, yes, this is a made-up town. There's not really a town called Winchestertonfieldville, Iowa. But when she gets out and she's like, "Oh my God!" and then when they walk down the street, he goes, "Oh my God, there it is!" and he points out the exact house. And she goes, "You're shitting me," or something like that. She's a son of a bitch.
I mean, in her face that she played that scene so well because she was just like, "Oh my God!"
It's my favorite part of the movie. Is like that trip to Winchestertonfieldville.
The worst possible thing that she, you know, that's like somebody, you know, being a very good liar okay, being very good at lying, and have lived on lies their entire life, and literally the one person who she's trying to get the closest with calls her BS.
Yeah. Oh, she probably wasn't trying to get close to. Well, I mean, close to him as a
to investigate
subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the way she just manically laughs when she sees the house, and she's just kind of
They go in there. My daddy built this house 6 years ago.
Well, your dad's a liar.
Oh, and this was my brother's room. My parents hated my brother.
My daddy built this house with his bare hands 6 years ago.
Well, your daddy is a liar.
How come you...
Oh, he's choking. We should go.
And then she goes, "This is my brother's room. It's a closet."
They didn't like
we didn't really like my brother. And then he's choking, and she goes, "Oh, we better go." She goes, "Oh, look, he's choking. We better go."
She bashes his head into the stairs.
You're a nurse, and she just throws his face into a banister.
Loses a tooth.
I'm like, I don't know how that clears his throat or whatever, because that's more head trauma, but whatever.
She's like, it was his tooth. It was his tooth. And
Yeah.
No.
Then, of course, the supremely, extremely cheesy moment of him reading his poem that he wrote for her.
No, that was kind of... But it followed along with the story because he wrote for Hallmark, and he's an extremely cheesy guy. He's a hopeless romantic.
Of course,
I mean, because he looks at his parents.
My jam.
Yeah, well, he looks at his parents and their relationship, and he wants that.
Yeah,
and so that drives him, I think, in his entire life, because he knows that by being an a-hole or being just a rotten person, that he won't find that true love, that his parents had. I mean, you could tell that's why he probably writes cards, everything else. He wants that true love, where he sees it in Winona Ryder, but I think again, the ratio is probably like 4 guys to every girl in that town, So he has to go out somewhere else. And the fact that he's trying to do all these nice things for Winona Ryder. And, at the very beginning, she does kind of laugh at him with Harris. They're both kind of laughing together at, I think the McEnroe, how naive he is and stuff. But I think right after that moment when she realizes that when he saves the cats, right? When he saves the cats and the lady.
That's when she started to become more endeared to him.
And she was on Scrubs, right? The cat lady was on Scrubs.
It was Nurse Roberts.
Yes.
Yeah. She. So I feel like her break. She had this breakdown, right?
Yeah.
Right after he read the poem and he walked away, and she went to her fake apartment that she didn't really live at. And she just stood in the lobby, and then she just slid down the wall and she was crying. That was pretty emotional, I thought.
Well,
for a movie like this.
My son comes up. We're at that part, and he's like, "Why is she laughing?" I'm like, "Really? She's not laughing. She's actually crying.
Psychopath.
Doing a very good job at it."
No, but yeah, so she's breaking down. I'm like, that's pretty emotional for this type of movie.
Yeah.
And everything. But I think it was right after he read that and when she started crying, that's when she realized right at that point, one, what she had done to this guy, tearing him down, that he genuinely was a good guy. Because remember, I think she was doing this because they were all like, nobody is this good of a guy.
Yeah.
And then she realized
I don't call it actually states that,
Nobody's this good of a guy and everything. But when she realizes after what he wrote her, right at that moment as he read that to her and finished reading it, right then was when she realized she was in love with him. And then she broke down and realized what she had done to him and what she was trying to tear him down and everything, but he was really a good man.
You don't think it was the cat, her scene?
I think that's when she really started to get endeared to him. They got the bikes and they're riding around on the bikes, and the cat thing happened. But because remember, she was like, I wrote, that he was a hero during that. But it really didn't hit her emotionally, I don't think, until that poem was read.
Okay.
And that's when she realized what she had done. And because it split, it cut right from whenever he tripped over the trash and ran away.
Yeah.
But right when she was sitting there on the ground crying, it cut to her in that dude's office, Jared Harrod's office. She goes, I love him.
I've fallen in love with him.
I think I love him.
Yeah.
And everything. So that I think that's why it showed that transition like that.
In all reality, granted, we say Harris was kind of scummy. In a sense, he wasn't scummy. He was just really good at his job, because when she was basically saying, hey, I've fallen in love with him. I don't want to do any more hit pieces on him. You know, Harris was taking that as, you know, she was done. You know, she didn't want to do this job anymore because that's what required of this job. In all reality, you know, it's not like he was being a scumbag just because it was.
Well, they were because they made up stuff.
They did.
They made up the fire rescue. They made it look like he was attacking.
Yeah, but to get the headlines, you know what I mean? He's just very good at his job. And,
but I think that does make him smarmy, though, doesn't it?
To a point. But that, you know,
he's not as bad.
Good
as
journalists
Covert,
are all
maybe.
scummy, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, in a sense. You know, I mean, maybe I'm not going to say that because then that's just. You know, I'm sure there's
a lot of them are though, but that's another point that I wanted to make is that, you know, they're all like at the very beginning, they're all like these people that just laugh at other people's misfortune, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And she's got the brunette hair, but she looks very jaded. They're all very jaded.
And alcoholics.
And he comes into town and he takes her back to some kind of innocence. You know, makes her feel like it's okay to be corny, to be, you know, that there are people that are genuine like he is. And because from what she's known as being a journalist, you know, all the genuineness doesn't exist. Everybody is just pretending to be somebody that they're not. And it's the journalist's job to figure out who that is, who they really are. And so she's like, okay, this guy is acting like this nice guy. I'm going to, you know, and maybe she never thought this, but this is the general public, you know, or her newspaper or her show that she was on or whatever, you know, she's like, we got to figure out who this guy really is, because then they made the point, you know, nobody's this nice, nobody's this good. And then when she finally realized he was, it took her back to a time before she was jaded, before, you know, when she was more innocent and everything. And that's what she fell in love with, is that she's been so, you know, dedicated her life to journalism and finding out the dirtbag dirt on people. And she couldn't find any with him. So it completely changed her world, thinking, I thought everybody was like this. Everybody had dirt to find. And this guy is genuine.
Well, and I think it speaks to the if you look at the basic plot of this film, right, and break it down this way, it's basically the differences, or, you know, somebody from a small town coming to a big town and the differences between those towns. And in all reality, that's like the basic plot of this film, because, I mean, you know, she tried to be somebody who she was not, which was somebody from a small town, not somebody from, I believe it was Staten Island or Long Island. I can't remember which one. No offense to anybody from New York. I just can't remember which one that she was trying to say, but, you know, or that she was from. But that's the basic plot of this story, I feel like. Even the old school one, you know, Deeds Goes to Town, it's basically going from a small town living where most people are like Deeds, and even if you notice in his town, you know, there's some nut jobs there, but in all reality,
everybody knows each other. It's kind of one big.
They care about each other.
It's a community more than
community,
a town.
Right? And then they come to New York, and then you realize how scummy these people are. That are, you know, that run this city. You
That's
know?
what I was saying at the beginning. It's like it's one of those rare movies where it actually shows small towns in a good light instead of just showing them as hicks that can't get with the rest of the world.
But that's the basic plot of this movie, really. It's just going from a small town to a big town.
It's a fish out of water story. And the basic.
Yeah, and he, you know, even with her trying to use, you know, the small town because he wants to find, you know, she knows how much he loves the small town. That, you know, she doesn't love. But she doesn't love, you know, she loves the big town because that's all she's known. He loves the small town because that's all he's known. And he comes to this big town and realizing that he doesn't fit in. He does not fit in with these with any of these groups. He doesn't fit in with any of them. You know, and you know, barely fits in with her.
Like
you
the
know?
dinner scene that we saw with the opera singer and everything, and they just want to trash him and everything, and
he beats him up too. There we go.
Crap out of everybody. So. Finally, in this movie, we find out that after Deeds signs his money away and gives it to United Negroes Fund for something like that,
$40 billion,
and that dude almost had a heart attack.
Goes to show how much his character did not care about money whatsoever.
Well, and a lot of it had to do with what's her name. He had been betrayed by Babe, who he knew as Pam. And so they're like, he's like, fine, I'm just going back home. He signs the papers, signs his shares over to those people, and is like, just give the money to this fund or whatever. He goes, do you got to know a good fund? And then the one dude, Eric Avari, plays Cecil, is like, oh, what about the United Negroes or whatever? And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, just give it to them.
Yeah.
But then you find out towards the end, and Babe does some investigating, and then Deeds comes back to New York to stop them from breaking up the company, because 50,000 people will lose their jobs, including the butler dude and all that. And then you find out that Babe shows that he had an affair with his cleaning woman, who ended up being Emilio, the butler dude's mom. So the butler dude that's been hanging out, and Emilio Lopez, played by John Turturro, who's been beating his foot with a fire poker and stabbing it,
and has a weird obsession with feet.
He has a foot fetish and everything like that. Anyways, you find out that he's actually the heir. So now my question is, does that money now get that check's going to bounce for that?
Pretty much
that fund.
Well, no, not technically, because it showed that I don't think Emilio had any inclination to sell the company.
That's what I'm saying.
So all that money goes to, yes, it was basically like all the money that those two characters raised to pay Deeds, basically, by investors and whatnot who thought they were going to get rich. All that money basically just got donated to that foundation, and so
but it didn't, because now they're finding out that money that was given to Deeds wasn't Deeds to, the shares wasn't Deeds to give away. So now that check is illegal.
Not necessarily, because if they're donating it to a charity like that, that's what it would. Instead of paying Deeds and going that route, they went all the way around and basically
the courts would take the money back.
But
yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that it's that fund ends up
that's a plot
screwed.
hole. I'll give
now
you that.
I don't know if it's a plot hole, or maybe just to smooth things over, he'll give that fund $1 billion too. He gives Deeds $1 billion, and he'll give this guy
$1 billion. Okay.
Like, he's like, all right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like that's one thing I was thinking. I was like, oh, they're gonna have to take back that money. That sucks.
I actually thought that too, but then I was like trying to justify the reasoning I was thinking of. It was just like, you can't really pull that. I mean, can you imagine these billionaires would be able to donate? Could you pull money from a charity? Really? I mean,
that'd be something to ask Chris from the Groundless show, because he's a lawyer and everything. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll ask him next time I see him. But I thought that was an interesting part. How that ended, and then he just says, "Let's go home." So there was never a conversation about how these characters were going to be. He just assumes that she's going to leave her dreams of being a journalist and come live in the small town of Mandrake's Falls with him, and that's what she does. So.
And I'm perfectly.
You wouldn't see that nowadays.
I know, but I'm perfectly happy with that ending.
I am too. But
I'm perfectly happy with that ending.
Maybe that's what you wanted or whatever. But
it still could set up for a part 2. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to ever even think about that.
Just call it Mandrake Falls.
Yeah. Why
but
not?
You couldn't have what's her name, Conchata.
Well, yeah. But I mean, there's ways to explain that. But what I was just laughing about a minute ago when you were talking, just thinking when Emilio sees his foot, his black foot for the first time, his what do they call it, the frostbitten foot.
Yeah,
he said, "It will haunt me in my dreams."
That will haunt me in my dreams.
I mean, the way you deliver that, but I mean, like, you think you're like, okay, this guy's got a foot obsession. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a girl's foot or a boy's foot.
Would not let me change his socks.
Yeah, but he's got some sort of foot obsession. Lord knows where that came from. But the fact that, even having that obsession, saying that will haunt me.
He even told the Cecil guy, who does nothing in this company but just kind of stands around and reacts to people. He's like, "Can I still work here?" And he's like, "If you let me change your socks, then you can still work here." He's like, "Deal." So he
didn't really say like deal. Like he was like, "Deal."
Yeah, like all right, sure.
Okay.
But. And then they go and retire, and one of his poems gets picked up by Hallmark. It ends up being the one he read to her that made her fall in love with him.
Should have taken that $1 million and bought Hallmark.
Yeah, I know, right? He could have taken, that
just literally took that $1 billion.
Now let's think of this, okay? Because he gave away, was it Corvettes? I think it was Corvettes that he gave away. Yeah, because I thought it was Ferrari, but I think they're Corvettes. So now we need to figure out. The population of town was what, like was it 2,000 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
We need to figure out if that math adds up. If you can get, you know, you assume maybe a quarter of the population are children. Okay. So maybe 3/4 of whatever the population is. Multiply that. You know, just each person or maybe just each family gets a Corvette. It'd be interesting to calculate if $1 billion. I'm sure $1 billion is enough. But if I don't know, the ones that they got, you know, what were they, like 80 to 100 grand? You know, at a pop, but, you know, times 2,000 people or something. I don't know. Maybe it would add up.
I still think that's a possibility. I mean, we're talking.
He would have to give away all his money then, which I guess they're all right with. That's the moral of the story.
Say we're talking about maybe $100 million. I mean, I think that's still too much for those Corvettes for that many people.
I guess so. When we're talking about money into the billions and stuff like that, it's way too much for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can't. It's I don't know. It's hard for me to think about that, but. I enjoyed this movie. To those of you who are hoping for a Punch Drunk Love review, we will eventually get to it, probably next season. But what is it, $160 million?
Yeah.
So what is that based on, like
$80,000 car for 2,000 people?
Yeah, and back in 2002 when this came out, that's probably about right.
Yeah, and you still got about $800 million left over, so I think he's good.
Yeah. Maybe he can open up his own chain of pizzerias that have random gift cards that he's written like on the tables.
I mean, living that life like where in that town, having that pizzeria with his wife, whatever. I mean, you figure he's probably going to spend maybe $100 million. I mean, not even that much. I mean, that guy, his type of personality, stuff like that. So I mean, he probably donated the rest of it.
He could probably open up a chain called like Greeting Card Pizza or something like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and then and then still donate like $600 million to whatever.
People can submit their own, and if they come up with one that's good or something, they
get
a lifetime supply of pizza or something. I don't know, something. Anyways, those of you expecting a Punch Drunk Love review, we will probably get to it, probably next season.
He told us not to do it. Adam Sandler said, "Don't do a podcast on this movie."
I think we need to. Maybe we even we even do a trilogy of like Punch Drunk Love, Spanglish, and Uncut Gems. You know, like his more serious films.
It's very, very, very. I mean, right from the beginning, it's extremely hard to see Adam Sandler and not know it's Adam Sandler, if you know what I mean.
In Punch Drunk Love?
Yeah,
like this. I mean, it's a shell. He's a shell.
Yeah,
because. The body looks like Adam Sandler, but whoever's driving that body around, I mean,
because he's always so sure of all his characters are always so sure of themselves.
It's transformative. His role in Punch Drunk Love is transformative. It's nothing like you've ever seen Adam Sandler do, and that includes Punch Drunk Love or even Spanglish. It's completely different. It's completely Paul Thomas Anderson. Yeah. And we will get to it, but we decided we want to talk about this a bit more.
Yes,
and it goes along with the rest of the themes. If you guys want to get a hold of us, we're on all social media as The Post Credit Podcast. We are on Twitter as @ThePostCredit. Our email address is thepostcreditpodcast@gmail.com. Our website is www.thepostcreditpodcast.com. And we're on YouTube. One more left. We're going to Hawaii next week.
Yeah, buddy.
So stick with us. We're going to do Hawaii 51st dates. Then we got a few more to finish out the season. And we got some amazing things coming for season 3. So you guys stick with us. We appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next time.
And throw me a bone.